New Zealand's got a dirty habit, sending our plastic waste overseas and making it someone else's problem. A whopping, get this, 20 million tonnes of plastic waste heads overseas each year. And this is where our next guest comes in, Lydia Chai. She's delivering a petition to Parliament tomorrow to put a stop to dumping waste overseas, especially in developing countries like her home country, Malaysia, where she says people are getting sick because of us. You're with us now to explain a bit more on this, Lydia. Can you just explain, a lot of people still probably don't realise what happens to a lot of our recycling here in New Zealand?
Well, thanks for having me. So there's a report by the Chief Science Advisor saying that 90% of our curbside recycling actually gets shipped overseas for processing. And what happens with that waste when it goes overseas is it does get processed, but because we're sending such huge amounts overseas, the amount that inevitably gets burned is a lot, and it's causing a huge health and environmental problem.
We'll go into that further in a moment, but 90%.
Yes.
So for you and I, that is all the stuff we're diligently trying to put into our recycling bin.
Yes.
90% of that is going overseas.
Yeah. And it feels like a betrayal because we're washing and drying our plastics and putting them in the right bins.
Yeah, we are. A lot of us are trying really hard. I read this morning that 1 in 2 plastics are only able to be recycled on shore, and there's only a few places where we can do the soft plastics.
Yes.
So it's a real issue, isn't it?
It is. The only plastics that are for sure recycled onshore in New Zealand are like milk bottles, high-grade plastics like water bottles, drinks bottles. Other than that, mixed plastics or like takeaway containers, yogurt containers, they all get sent overseas.
So tell me what happens. It all gets bundled up and sent to Malaysia.
Yes, and we are sending tens of thousands of tons of plastic waste. Most of it gets sent to the Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and when it gets there, we don't know what happens to the plastic waste, and this is my whole point. We have no way of knowing for sure whether it gets processed safely.
And for you, there's a real personal connection to this because it's going to your home country.
That's right, yeah.
And how is it affecting people there?
Well, yeah, this is very upsetting to talk about because the plastic waste gets burned at night and the local residents can smell the fumes at night, and it's happening at night to escape authorities, obviously. It's having a massive effect on people's health and the environment. Cancer and asthma rates have shot up to 6 times in the last couple of years. It's devastating. The local ecosystems are breaking down. The rivers have been polluted with microplastics. There's a lot going on as a result of this.
So are there many regulations in Malaysia to deal with this kind of thing? I mean, what kind of permits does New Zealand need to send its waste, and what kind of assurances are they getting from Malaysia that it's been recycled?
Well, that's the huge problem. So that's the big unknown for us as senders of this waste. I can tell you as a Malaysian that Malaysia is not a working democracy. For example, there are no local council elections. So the local councillors are not elected. There's widespread corruption. We have no way of knowing that these permits are issued legitimately to these waste operators.
Your mum's there. What does she say about it?
She's absolutely shocked, and she's glad that I'm taking up this fight, and she's really proud of me. But yes, it's very upsetting to anyone I tell. Even Malaysians aren't aware of the situation.
And you have taken up the fight, Lydia, because what have you done? You've organised and started a petition.
Yes. Yep, I've got 11,000 signatures and counting so far, and I'm going to hand it to Parliament tomorrow. And I'm calling for the New Zealand government to ban plastic waste exports to developing countries at least. And I would like a decision made by the end of the year.
Because do we have a plan of how we're going to deal with our waste in the future?
No, we don't. And I'm aware that the Ministry of Environment has come out with a whole suite of recommendations for how we can transform to a circular economy, but their plan does not address the issue of plastic waste exports.
So you're making the trip to Wellington tomorrow to hand over your petition?
Yes, I am.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Melissa.